Brian was 13 when he first met Zach, who was 15. They sat beside each other in 8th grade at DePaul School in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Neither of them knew that their paths had crossed before, when Brian was just 11 and Zach was 13. But this time was different. This time, the meeting would shape the rest of their lives. Zach was from Clark's Summit. Brown hair, brown eyes, and a confidence that walked into the room before he did. He was admired and respected, but also bullied, misunderstood. He had a mouth that was sharp when he wanted it to be, yet his kindness could surprise you at the strangest moments. He struggled with depression and bipolar disorder, though he covered it with arrogance and grit. And when it came to mountain biking, nobody was stronger than Zach. Brian, with his blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, was from Oliphant. He was the quiet one, humble to a fault, too nice in a world that often took advantage of his softness. Loneliness clung to him, though underneath it lay strength, a fire of anger that few ever saw. Like Zach, he battled depression and bipolar swings, but he carried it all silently, like a weight he didn't think anyone else could understand. At first, Brian didn't think much of Zach, but slowly he began to respect him, especially when he realized how much they shared. Both loved the outdoors, the quiet of the woods, the sweat of climbing a hill, the thrill of flying downhill on a bike. Out on the trails, Zach always led. Brian fought hard to keep up, showing flashes of power, but Zach stayed ahead. And instead of mocking him, Zach helped. He scribbled a training plan on a scrap of paper, told Brian to follow it, and Brian did. 4 weeks later, Brian was stronger than he had ever been. One day, Zach told him he had joined a mountain bike team, Keystone Composite. Inspired, Brian joined too. To everyone's surprise, Brian quickly became the second strongest rider on the team. On the climbs, he could crush almost anyone but Zach. Zach was still the fastest, still the undisputed king. But admiration began to blur into jealousy. Zach's confidence sometimes felt like arrogance. Brian's quiet strength sometimes boiled into rage. They were brothers, rivals, mirrors of each other's pain. They fought, argued, drifted apart, but always came back. On the trails, they pushed each other harder than anyone else could. Years passed. They grew into men, champions. Their rivalry carried them all the way to the Olympics. This time, it wasn't just pride on the line. It was $10 million in glory that would echo forever. At the starting line, Brian's hands trembled. He could sense Zach's fear too, but also his fire. When the race began, they tore down the course. Every turn, every climb, a war. "Come on, Zach, let's go," Brian shouted, lungs burning. "Screw you, I'm winning this," Zach roared back. "No, I am," Brian screamed. The crowd roared with them, mud flying, bikes slicing through the course. Then disaster. Zach crashed, his leg twisted, body broken in the dirt. Brian had the chance. He could have taken it all. But he stopped. He dropped his bike and ran to Zach's side. "Come on," he gasped, trying to pull him up, but Zach shoved him away. Desperate, savage, Zach grabbed his own bike, blood dripping, and sprinted for the finish. Brian, stunned, tried to recover, but it was too late. Zach crossed the line first. Later, Zach clapped Brian on the shoulder, his voice dripping with false warmth. "Good job, but you can never beat me." Brian could only walk away in silence. His kindness had been twisted, his trust shattered. From that moment, they were enemies. 15 years passed. Brian carried the weight of that betrayal every single day. To him, it was clear. Zach had stolen from him. But to Zach, there was no betrayal. He had rewritten the story in his mind. He told the world Brian never had the strength to win, that he had slowed because he couldn't keep up. And people believed him, because Zach had the medal, the money, the glory. One autumn afternoon, they met again at a charity ride in Pennsylvania. Zach, older but still proud, found Brian in the crowd. "Brian," he called, voice booming. "Still riding?" He grinned, clapping him on the back as if nothing had ever happened. You know, I always respected you. You gave me everything that day. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am. You made me. The words cut deep. Brian looked into Zach's eyes and saw no guilt, no shame, only certainty. Zach didn't believe he had betrayed him at all. Brian's voice shook, his anger barely contained. You didn't win, Zach. You took, and someday you'll realize that. But Zach only laughed. No, Brian, I won, and I'll never let you forget it. He walked away, laughter echoing through the crisp autumn air. Brian stood frozen, fists clenched. That was the cruelest truth of all, not just the betrayal, but the erasure of it. Zach would go to his grave believing he was the victor. By 30, Brian's life had hollowed out. He had a house, a car, a steady job, but inside he was scarred, toxic, lonely. He trusted no one, spoke to no one, loved no one, except his dog and his family he only loved. Every evening he went home, wrapped his arms around his dog, and turned on the TV, searching for silence in the noise. And though he prayed, though he fought to scrape away the pain, all he could do was live. Live with the scars. Live with the betrayal. Live with the burden of kindness turned against him. Still, he tried to be strong, because that's all he had left.